Welcome, everyone. This is our CDI Presents. Today is October 17th, 2021, and we have Joy Imboden Overstreet. And she has been a health educator and writer since 1967, always with the intention of empowering others to live more consciously and more in touch with their own internal resources. Her book, The Cherry Pie Paradox, The Surprising Path to Diet Freedom and Lasting Weight Loss, is based on Thin Within, the revolutionary workshop she created in 1975, long before intuitive eating and the anti-diet were a thing. Joy created this process to deal with her own weight struggles, then shared her framework for self-discovery with hundreds of others in the San Francisco Bay Area, giving participants the tools they could adapt to their own circumstances. The purpose of the book is to guide readers experientially to a place where food, their weight, or their body no longer feels like the enemy. Joy has a BA from Wellesley College, a master's in public health from the University of California in Berkeley, and has yet to stop taking classes and trainings. In 2000, she trained as a feng shui consultant with Tara Collins at the Western School of Feng Shui. In 2006, she earned her Distinguished Toastmaster Award. Yay, I'm a Toastmistress also. Although she'd been working with color for decades, she didn't get formal training until 2014 with Olga Kamova and Mary Lou Manlove. Currently, she maintains a busy color practice in her Portland studio. She also sees clients in their homes for paint palettes and furnishings placement. Until the pandemic, she taught two popular classes at Clark College every quarter. The first was Going Gray Gracefully, using color and style to look your natural best. And the second was Clear Your Clutter, Reboot Your Home and Your Life. Joy's articles and essays have been published in a number of national magazines and newspapers. She also writes a popular weekly newsletter, Alive with Joy. The Cherry Pie Paradox is her first book. It's available now on Amazon in both print and ebook and will soon be at independent bookstores. Please join me in welcoming Joy Overstreet.
Yay! Hey. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you. So at this point, do I take over, Mary Lou? How does this work?
Absolutely. It's your show from now on.
And can we mute all the participants?
Yeah, good idea.
I can.
Well, Mary Lou can, but then she'll mute Joy, but then you can unmute Joy.
Okay, so.
Anyway, we can all mute ourselves.
Oh yeah, you don't want to mute me. Well, maybe you do. Okay, so raise your hand if you ever wished that you had a body that was different than the one you were born with. Different in some way, that it was shorter, thinner, fatter, taller, that your hair was in some way different. You had more of it or less of it, straighter or curlier, all of that. And how many of you have been on a diet of some sort to lose weight at some point in your life? Is everybody? I can't, yeah, everybody. It looks like almost everyone, not Bev. So most people have been on a diet of some sort because that's what Americans do, I swear. And as color and style consultants, we are particularly conscious of how people look, and especially including ourselves. And one of the things that bothers many people about how we look is the shape of our bodies. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because disliking the only body that you'll ever get, at least in this lifetime, is a sad place to be. So I am now going to show some slides. I've got a share a screen thing here going. Wait a minute. Okay. Where did it go? Here it is. Okay, let me play. All right. So today we're going to talk about befriending what is, which is the body you have. So I want to start where my weight war began, which was in 1955. I am that old. As a teenager, I gained a lot of weight and was not happy with myself, as you can see here on this picture. Very surly and sullen and unhappy. Once I resolved it during my college years, that is to say, I dieted and got my weight down to a place that I felt pretty good about it. I decided I just never felt safe with food, and it was always on some kind of diet. And mostly it worked for me, but it also meant that I never felt safe around food, like it was perhaps going to jump out and bite me, or I would lose control and grab all the donuts. So that was kind of where I was, but my weight was at a standstill for quite some time. But the reason that I was so concerned was that at that time, this was a book that I read in 1967. We were really, overweight was not, well, this guy's book, the Thin Book by a Formerly Fat Psychiatrist, the very first chapter, he opens with "Fatness is a sickness," and I will just briefly read the first few sentences. "Being fat is a sickness. For our purposes, you're fat and sick if you are at all overweight. This applies whether you are mildly sick, that is 3 or 4 pounds overweight, or deathly sick, some 75 or more pounds overweight. Like many sicknesses, neglect will result in the acute becoming chronic and the benign becoming malignant." And he goes on to say, "Fat people are anxiety ridden and handle their anxiety through overeating." You can understand that many women in particular, because it was a female problem, men didn't seem to worry about their weight, why this was so concerning. 3 or 4 pounds is bad. So in 1971, the weight that you see here was actually pregnant weight. And everybody in the Berkeley area, the Oakland area, was getting their colors done. And so I was almost about to give birth, decided it was going to be a good idea if I got my colors done, so that after the birth of my second child, I could scratch the wardrobe that I had been maternity in for 3 or 4 years, the various shades of early motherhood, and start afresh. So I went into PSC to Ron Sackman, personal style counselors, wearing this dress that I had made myself. Speaking of orange, I was very proud of this dress. I loved color, and the brighter the better. And so what better than a big tent of orange? And I didn't have quite enough fabric, so I inserted this panel of white with kind of a snaky design. It's hard to describe what that looked like. And you can see I am a great artist. This is my own rendition. At any rate, Ron just about passed out when he saw me, because as it all turned out, I was a soft type. Now, a soft type in the personal style counselor's vocabulary meant that I was a summer. And I went home with my new soft palette and cried. But I don't know how many of you, I can't really see y'all, but know or knew Joan Songer. But Joan was, as far as, this is a slide actually from somebody else. And so I did not know all this history, but Joan also worked with Suzanne, and she changed the word seasons to color harmonies. And so this is very much like what the palette I had looked like. It was pretty bright for a summer, but Joan was the quintessential summer. I mean, she was almost from another time. She was so gentle and soft, and you see her lovely, elegant hands and fingers. And I didn't feel like that. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna take a class and she was teaching classes about this different seasonal styles. So I took this class and I learned a lot, got rid of all my bright clothes and started to simmer down. But soon after I had my colors done and had taken these classes, Joan did this 2-weekend seminar program that she was really enthusiastic about. And she decided she was going to bring this guy to talk to all of her students. And so one afternoon, it was arranged almost like a wedding outside with the chairs and an aisle down the center of the lawn. And in comes this guy. He strode in wearing a white suit with a dark green tie, open shirt, not tie, sorry, shirt, open collared shirt. And he, first of all, people in Berkeley don't wear white suits. He's kind of like came off a Hollywood set or something. But he strode up to the front of the space and started to talk. And the things that he was talking about were fascinating to me, although I didn't quite understand what he was saying. It was kind of Zen, but I was intrigued. And he kept saying, "You don't need this, but this is what you'll get if you do it." And so I thought, well, I don't need it, but maybe I'll find an excuse at some point to do it. So fast forward a year, my son that I was pregnant with is a year old, and my husband, the day after Ethan's birthday, was diagnosed with testicular cancer, which really changed my life, his life too. So all I could think of was, now I've got a really good excuse to do the EST training, which is what Werner was doing at the time. And these are some of the things that I got at that time. It is what it is. That's what EST means. EST is the Latin for it is. And then the question is, now what? The only way out is through. The present moment is your only opportunity to create the future you want. You are not your story. You either have your results or your reasons why not. And then he talked about this thing called be, do, have, and that it was the natural order of creation. At any rate, I took all this in, and it did, in fact, make a huge difference in how Edward and I coped with his illness. However, in August of 1974, my husband died, and I had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I was a 34-year-old widow. And I was all into the chirpy, it is what it is, I can cope, we're all fine, I'm in the present moment. And then reality hit, and I started eating and upped my diet game, and eating and dieting and eating and dieting. And it got to the point where I honestly was feeling suicidal. I was not only, it was not just the feelings about the loss and the fear of the future and how I was going to, make it through as a single parent, but also shame at being so self-absorbed that all I cared about at that moment was losing those. Well, I think I'd gained like about 12 pounds by this time, losing the weight when I should have been concerned with my dear children and our future. At any rate, I decided I had to stop. I had to stop dieting, let the chips fall where they may. So at that point, I quit dieting and decided I would begin to apply some of the things I had learned at the EST training. I would become more present when I ate, and I would tell the truth about what I was eating, because most of the time my left hand did not know what my mouth was doing. And I would question the stories that I told myself about why I was eating. And so I started, like writing it down so I could be truthful. And the truth was I grazed like a cow. I ate all the time. And then everything changed one morning, couple of weeks after this, I decided to quit dieting. I went to take my kids to a friend's house for a play date, and she was having breakfast. And her breakfast was cherry pie. She had just baked a pie and she offered me a piece, but of course I only wanted to have a cup of coffee, black, please. But she tucked into her pie, and about halfway through the piece, she patted her tummy and said, "You know, I'm full." And she then scraped the piece of pie, the leftover piece of pie, into the garbage can, which for somebody like me, you don't throw away food. You just do not, particularly pie, cherry pie. At any rate, there was something about this that just like made my head explode. And I thought, you know, what is it about Carol? Here she is. I didn't say this. She was a skinny little thing. And how could she eat this pie and have such a nonchalant attitude about it, about throwing it away? And I realized that she knew something that I didn't know. She related to food in a way that was completely foreign to me, and that maybe I had been barking up the wrong tree. All the diets I'd ever done, all the programs I'd been involved in were all I thought, created by people who struggled with their weight. And I had been sort of on the wrong side of this whole issue. And that's when I realized that, you know, there's the yin and yang of life, that you cannot have black without white. You cannot have hot without cold. You also cannot have fat without thin. You have to have both. And in fact, the seed of one is always in the seed of one is in the other, and it's always evolving. My be do have formula, which was, it was backwards. I thought of myself as fat, so even when I wasn't. And so I always started with a diet, and then I would fail at it and it would reinforce itself, and my thinking never changed. So I had to begin to figure out a way to nurture my thin self. And that was the seed of this program that I created, which I called Thin Within. And the thing that was cool about this particular moment in time in Oakland is that our office, the Thin Within office, was on the corner of Santa Clara and Grand Avenue, around the corner of which was PSC's offices. There was also the New Moon, which was a shop. And I don't know why someone doesn't do this again. A shop run by these two gals, both Winters, that was just for color clients. And you could go and they would direct you to the summer section of the store or the winter section. It was genius. I got all my clothes from there. At any rate, we were a very happy little corner of enlightenment in many ways. But I started the whole seminar process in my living room with like 6 neighbors who were my guinea pigs. And after several weeks, we had all lost weight and had started thinking differently, and it was very exciting. So this program continued, at least, well, I continued with it for 5 years. And then I left and went on to graduate school because I realized that the overweight problem that I could see around me was not so much a personal problem as the whole culture. And I needed to know more about it as a public health problem. At any rate, I had resolved my own weight problem, so I moved on. And Thin Within, there's somebody has written something in ballpoint pen on my drawing, but at Thin Within, we did a lot of eating because it was a very experiential program, and eating was a big part of it. So let me see, where am I here? I've got all these notes. Oh, yes. So it's time now to talk about the experience because it was a very experiential process, getting into the sensation of hunger and fullness, also the taste of food, where, well, we'll go on. So what we're going to do now is get into the experience. And that will be 3 different things we're going to do. First is a fuel level check. Then we're going to attend a movie premiere and then experience the snack. Are you ready? So I'm going to stop sharing, I think, right now. Let me see. Yeah. Can I do that? I did it, but like, hold on this. There we go. Okay. So back to the room. Are we still there? I didn't see you. Any questions so far? Never mind. We'll get to that. We'll get to that actually. So what I want to do right now is, let me find my notes. I want to do a fuel check. So I'm going to ask you for the next few minutes to close your eyes and join me in this little experience. So we're going to just take 3 breaths together. Okay, with your eyes still closed, I want you to look through your body for any sensations that you would call hunger or fullness or just right. Just see if you can locate those sensations. Can you describe what those sensations are to yourself, what they feel like? Okay, if your GI tract had a fuel gauge and the fuel gauge went from 0 to 10 or 0% to 10 to 100%, with 0 running on fumes and 100% being the gauge is going to top off, and 5 being just right, or 50%. What level is your fuel gauge at right now? Okay, now keeping your eyes closed, we're going to go to the movies. And just imagine that you're attending this world premiere and you're excited about it. So step into the theater and find your usual comfortable seat. And then the screen, the curtains roll back and the screen is revealed and your name is on the screen. This movie is starring you. And the movie is going to be in Technicolor and surround sound. So the movie starts and there you are at the last meal you ate. It could be today, your lunch, your breakfast, a snack that you had. So there you are on the big screen, seeing yourself eating this meal. Notice where you are. What's going on in the environment? Are you sitting at a table set up for eating? Are you focused on the food? Or are you multitasking? What are you eating? Are you eating quickly or slowly? Do you taste what you're eating? Do you like what you're eating? Or have you settled on it because that was all that was around? Do you finish it? Or do you leave some behind? On the whole, was this a satisfying experience for you? And if you could change the script, how would you change it? Okay, now let that meal go, but don't open your eyes yet because this is a double feature. So roll the clock back even further to last night's dinner. And just notice where you are, what's going on around you. If you're sitting at a table set up specifically for eating, are you focused on the food or are you multitasking? What are you eating? Are you eating fast or slow? Is it possible you're swallowing some emotions along with the food? Do you taste what you're eating? And do you like it? Do you finish the food or do you leave some behind? On the whole, was this a satisfying experience for you? If you could change the script, how would you do it? Okie doke. You can let the curtains close and come back to the room where you are. And you can you turn off, if anyone has something to share about that, what they discovered, can you be unmuted? Mary Lou, are you the muter? Okay.
Everybody can unmute themselves.
Okay. So does anyone have anything they want to, Julie, yeah.
Well, I've known this about myself for a long time, but when you ask, do you finish what you eat or leave some? I never leave food on the plate. And I know that that's a bad thing. You know, I just always eat it and eat too fast.
Ah, well, good to know.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting until you actually sort of see it from outside. It's hard to kind of get the impact of what that is so that you can make a different choice, perhaps. Yeah. Somebody else?
I
Yes,
find myself-
Marion.
I'm a multitasker. So I noticed as I came today, I came to the meeting with my lunch. So ate my lunch and ate quickly and it was delicious, but yeah, I'm always multitasking.
Mm-hmm. So you don't get to really have the full experience of eating.
Unless
Have you
I'm
ever
out.
looked, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked down at your plate and realized it's empty and you have, or the bag of chips or whatever, and realized, "Oh, I don't even know where that went."
Exactly, for sure.
Yeah. And somebody else, Cecilia, did you have your hand raised? No, it was Bernie.
When you asked about what would you like to be different, I like last night's dinner, I was eating at the kitchen table, but as the same with today at lunch, I had my little tablet open and doing like spider solitaire, because then I'm doing something between bites. So I wind up eating slowly. So that's
Oh, I see. That's a
now for being able to
strategy.
do that. But, and I do chew slowly and blah, blah, blah. But you say, what if it could be different? I was thinking my beloved spouse, who was sitting over in a chair in front of the TV because there was some sporting event on, said, I think I would enjoy this more if he were also sitting at the table and we were having a nice conversation instead of, separating like that.
Yeah, right, right, yeah. Yes, Deanna.
I'm often multitasking, either with my iPhone or trying to get rid of some of the clutter on my coffee table. I at home, I often eat alone at the coffee table. But I was thinking about what I ate last night, and I often eat more for fuel rather than what I love, and more for trying to eat healthy, maybe something I really love. So, and I also can't leave anything on the plate. So,
yeah.
Whatever I have learned, I'm in a senior place. I have learned often with the to-go dinner to cut it in half, save half for the next day.
That's a good strategy. Yeah. Did someone else have a hand up? I can't remember. Oh, yes, Jan.
My unmuted. Yeah. When you asked what would be different, I realized that after my husband died, I stopped eating at the table because we always had dinner together, and we'd always have a glass of wine before dinner while the dinner was baking or whatever, and then eat. And we always had nice table settings. We just made a thing of it at the end of the day. And after he passed, I just avoided that whole thing. And I never realized it. If I have company or my grandsons, or anybody's over, we always sit at the table. But if I'm alone, I don't. So need to think about that.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah, good.
Oh, and Bernie, tell your husband to enjoy you at your dinner time while you have each other. I will speak to him if you wish.
I'll mention that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the thing about multitasking is that, I mean, I love to multitask. If I could double my tasks, that would be really happy. But it means that you don't get to experience the food that you have in your mouth. It's just impossible. And you don't get to pay attention to the signals in your body that you've had enough. So focusing on the food. I mean, if you love food, and many of us really love food, it's a shame to waste it on an iPhone Twitter feed. So think about that. I mean, you can get a lot more bang for your caloric buck by actually being with the food. So
Hi, this is Cecilia. Can you multitask with intention?
the science says no, but I like to think you can.
Because my husband doesn't have lunch. I need to have lunch. So for lunchtime, I prepare my tray and I sit in front of the TV on the Italian channel so I can train my ear listening to Italian. But the whole process of preparing my tray, there is like, okay, I want this and I want a fruit. And I sit there and I have my lunch, but my ear is listening to Italian because my husband speaks Italian. He doesn't need to listen to the Italian TV. And that's the opportunity for me to really watch the news in Italian and practice my language. So I do it, but I do it with intention, like.
Okay, fine. If it works for you, I'm just saying that you can either learn Italian or you can eat. It's really hard to do both. I mean, you can have it, I can imagine it in the background. At any rate, that's just something to think about. That's all. All right, we need to move on to the next experience, so I want to ask you right now just to close your eyes for a second and do another fuel level check. Where exactly is your fuel gauge right now? Again, from 0 to 100%. It may have changed. Just notice what it is and make note of that level. Okay, you got it? You can do this many times a day. It's not a bad idea. And during a meal, at the end of the meal, this is how you know whether you've had enough, but you have to be present enough to notice. Okay, so it's time for the snack. So everybody get out your snack. Deliciously dark. Ooh, that looks good. Okay, great. So what I'm going to ask is if this snack is something that you enjoy on a regular basis, so you're very familiar with it. This is a little challenging, but I want you to pretend that you're from Mars and you have never seen this thing before. It is new to you. So imagine that this item, you're seeing it for the first time. So get it out and look at it in front of you. So if it's in a wrapper, unwrap it and take a look at it. And does it remind you of anything? Does it look like anything you've ever seen before? Does it have a texture? If you were to feel it, does it actually have how does it feel when you stroke it with your hand?
You're making us play with our food?
Yes. Okay. So are your salivary glands going, by the way? Have you noticed that? That's, yeah. Mouth is getting ready. So now take the food, the item, and smell it. Does it smell like you expected? No? Marion's not shaking her head.
No.
Okay. Okay. Now I want you to lick it, not bite, lick. Take a lick and notice the texture. And if you get any flavor when you lick it. Okay. And now, so this is a very short version of a lot of long stuff that we do. But now take a bite, and just really notice how it feels in the mouth. What flavors you notice first? Is it salt or sweet or bitter or savory? Is there a part of your mouth where it's more flavorful, where you have more taste buds, perhaps? Okie doke. And now, if you could rate this food that's in your mouth still on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being yuck, 10 being yum, and 5 being it's all right. How would you rate this food? Okie doke. Whoa. All right. All right. So now put your snack into a napkin or put it down. And notice your fuel level right now. Are you at what level of hunger are you? 50%, 100%, 0%? Has your hunger level changed during this experience, for example? And now that you have the food, your mouth is clear of the food. I assume you swallowed it. Now that your mouth is clear of the food, notice if there's an aftertaste in your mouth. And if the aftertaste is worse than the taste itself was, is it an aftertaste that makes you want another bite to cover the aftertaste? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. So how would you rate the aftertaste? 1 to 10. Yeah, 10. Oh, good. All right. Okay, so there's a lot more to explore about snacks, and so anybody have anything they want to say about this snack process before I go back to my slides?
Can we have another bite?
Yeah, you can if you want. You can if you want. You can. I've lost my train of thought there. So other thoughts about this taste? Yes, Catherine.
I have a tendency to have the same snack at the same time daily.
Uh-huh.
And I have a cup of coffee and a biscotti every day,
Uh-huh.
about 4 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And I find that I get really cranky if I don't do that. And I know that biscotti is not particularly healthy. I mean, it's not like it's packed with nutrition, but I'm curious. You got me thinking now about the psychological impact of expectation.
Yes. Yes, correct. And it's a habit. So
Yeah.
you have a bunch of, I mean, so this process is not about eating healthfully or not healthfully. It is about becoming aware of your own patterns so that you can decide for yourself what's working, what's not working. You know, how might I want to mix it up? And so maybe you might have a different snack just for the heck of it. And maybe you're not tasting the biscotti anymore. It's the same old, same old, same old.
I look forward to it. And I do different biscottis.
Oh, there's that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's just something to think about, but that's a really good point. And it's a habit. So you can.
Yesterday I didn't get my biscotti and I found myself tired and grumpy, and I couldn't figure out why about 6 o'clock last night. I didn't want dinner. I wanted my biscotti.
But you have it with coffee, right?
Oh yeah.
So maybe it's the coffee too. Yeah.
Oh, I love coffee. Coffee, I think, is proof God loves us, frankly. But that's just my opinion.
Okay. Darren, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, what I was thinking about, it was like sometimes what I've started doing, because I had given some thought to what you were saying, and just kind of reminded me that sometimes I want something and I know, like, if I eat a whole bunch of this, it's not going to be good for me. But just having a bite and just savoring that bite, sometimes that's enough. That's all I needed. I really didn't even need any more than that. It's just a taste.
Right,
I used to
exactly.
go to the mall, and you'd go you'd see the person selling these cookies, and they would say, if you buy the third one, you get it for 25 cents. And I would just fall into that trap continually until finally I'm like, I didn't even want the first one. I think a bite of the first one was enough.
Oh,
Maybe
that's perfect.
if I don't buy any of them except for that one, give me the smallest one you got.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So I'm going to move on to my next slide because that is really a great explanation now. Share screen. Okay. There we go. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Okay. All right. So play. Okay. So the snack. So we call the snack a teaser, and what it is, it's a teaser because it's always there because we try to keep it on hand, and it's always beckoning to us, and we hope it will solve a problem for us. You know, it may be a problem of putting off the next thing that you're not wanting to do. It may be putting off feeling the feeling you're feeling. It may be just taking a break. But the thing is that it doesn't necessarily do what you really are hoping it'll do. So it's just something to think about. We spent a lot of time in this classes talking about snacks because they're a very American bad habit that doesn't really do us much good. So we've been talking about weight, but we're really talking about a transformed attitude about food and our bodies and our weight, how we look. And our clients want that too. And I think about somebody who has come to me and said, well, I had my, I bought a palette online. I got, you know, not Color Me Beautiful, but something like that. And I bought this palette and it says I'm a spring. What does that even mean? And I think one of the problems with virtual analyses or buying palettes off the internet is that the client doesn't have the experience of the shift that these colors can make. And so when you are holding up the colors to their face and you're saying A or B, or, you know, like at the optometrist, 1 or 2, 2 or 3, 1 or 3, and the client is involved in the experience and can actually watch themselves come to life or look sick, that is a powerful experience that really can begin this process of transformation. So back to befriending what is, how I think we can serve our clients best is to help them see and appreciate their own unique beauty, no matter their body shape. To hear their negative stories, because most of us, the stories that we tell ourselves are not helpful, and nudge them to question these things they think of as true, because most of the time they're not. And finally, opening their minds to positive possibility. So whatever the appearance an analogy to fat and thin is, to be thinking more like I love my body, I love how I look, and how I look is authentically me. How exciting is that? So here endeth my sharing. Oh no, I'm not got one more. Yeah, right. Sorry, one more thing. So my book takes you through a lot of the experiences that I designed for my Thin Within students way back then, and it's still relevant today. And the thing that's exciting is that neuroscience and cognitive science is now validating a lot of what I knew and my students experienced personally, intuitively back then. And now it turns out that these things actually have brain science to back them up. Anyway, this is my website. I'd love to hear from you if you want more information about this process, or if you want more information about the book, that you can buy it, you can sign up for my newsletter, blah-de-blah-de-blah. I thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to stop the share so I can see you again. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, any final questions or comments? Yes,
Hey,
Nicole.
Joy, I just want to be sure your book is available on Amazon.com.
It is available on Amazon.com as an ebook or paper. And it's really, the paperback version is so cool. Oh, you know what? Here it is. Because it's got all these writing prompts in it. The illustrations are very cool. And it's the kind of book you want to return to often. The Thin Within process that I describe is not an overnight miracle. It's work, but it's very rewarding work. And it's a lot of fun, actually, to learn these things about yourself that you knew but didn't know.
And I may say, I'm reading Joy's book, and every night I eat a piece of chocolate, and start with a piece of chocolate and then went to 1.5, and to the point that went to 2, right? So I started reading Joy's book, and last week I ate my piece of chocolate, and then I would have my half. I said, no, do I really need a half? Am I satisfied? I said, just reading, like, you turn on certain bulbs in your brain that work. Do I really need this? No, we don't.
Thank
So
you.
it's really validating, because you just become more conscious
Yeah,
of
that's
what
the
you're
idea.
doing. Yeah,
Yes.
not just doing for doing. Yeah.
Right. Bernie, you were going to say something?
Well, first of all, I have my copy, and to everyone who doesn't, it's fun to read because Joy has a good sense of humor and makes it all interesting. I'm not far enough along to, well, I'm just starting in. But I had a question about that last thing about your next to last slide, where you said listen to your clients and their, try to convince, tell them see the positive of their truth, or what they call truth. I mean, can you give an example of that?
Well, one of the things that I have found helpful is when somebody points out a body part that they don't like, or they think, then, and they discount themselves for having that thing, is to mention somebody else who has that shape thing or whatever, and say, well, what do you think of that person? And they're like, oh, that's great. I love them. And they talk about their personality or their whatever, and they don't judge them. And so it's like, well, what about you? Why are you so hard on yourself? I mean, it's very hard to do this in a very short consultation, but if you work with a client in their closet, you have more time to have conversations like that. Yeah, Darren.
Joy, may I ask you, do you run a course for your clients on this concept, or do you incorporate it with when you do a color analysis appointment? How do you operate that?
Do I do a class on this topic, you mean? I have not taught this class I actually taught it at the community college a couple of years ago, but I have not taught it in 40 years because I haven't. I've been doing other things, but I probably should. There are other people who are doing interesting things. I think my process is unique in that it really starts with a process of self-discovery and changing how you see yourself, changing your identity from being a fat person, whether you're fat or not. Many people who have struggled with their weight never let go of that self-image as fat, even thin. And so, I don't know, Beverly, I'm just moving on to other things. I wrote this book because I feel like the world needed it. and that I have something to offer. And I'm doing other things. That's a very unsatisfactory answer, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do a workbook because I think that a group process is really helpful, and to gather a bunch of friends to do this with a workbook, good idea. So
And
The
speaking
guide
of the
industry
group
is
of
so
friends,
huge,
if,
you know.
because I did get to the part that says it's good to do this in a group so you can share experience and so on. If anyone would like to join me, and I can set up a Facebook group for us. So
great.
if someone would want to do that.
So do you find the principles of this book extend to other areas of their life as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a waking up process.
Mhm.
And I've used to teach quit smoking classes. Clutter clearing is the same. I mean, it's the same mental garbage. So yes, thank you for asking that. It's a process that starts with recognizing there's something that needs to shift.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Does Catherine have her hand raised up? I don't know.
Thank you, Joy, for speaking to us at CDI. And let's have a hand of applause for Joy.
Thank you all.
It was a lot of fun, and I hope that people contact Joy and get the workbook and start their own little groups and ask her for feedback and all that. And I think
Buy the book and write a review on Amazon, because I am the single advertising machine, and I am not, or marketing machine, and it is not my strong suit.
Don't say you know her when you write your review, because then they won't publish it.
Yeah. Well, you can. Yeah. Right.
Joy, who is a stranger to me.
The US is not posting to New Zealand at the moment.
It is not. Is it not available in New Zealand? Because it's selling in Germany and.
No, it's the US, because we've only got a small amount of cargo planes coming in. You know, because our borders are closed.
Oh,
so the US are not sending to New Zealand at the moment.
So
I'll have to wait.
Yeah. So if you could do the ebook.
Yes.
The ebook. Yeah.
How many pages is it?
The book is 272 pages, but the last so it's really 200 pages plus an appendix with resources and charts and meditation transcripts, bibliography.
Excellent.
Yeah.
When you were working in Oakland, did you guys like you said you set up a shop? Is that correct?
Yeah, we had the Thin Within offices at the corner of Santa Clara and Grand.
Well, how did that work? I mean, did people just come in and like for sessions?
We taught classes there, and we taught classes in hotel, rooms around the Bay Area. Originally, I taught classes in my living room, but it became kind of a hassle because I had to sweep the Legos off the couch before the people came, and had to hire a babysitter to take the kids into the back and keep them quiet. But
thank you so much, Joy. We're gonna stop, and I just want to remind people that we have a social on the 14th of November, and we will we're gonna skip December. So on the social, the topic is green. So if you can wear green or think about green and all that, Lisa would appreciate it. Nicole and Bernie will send out announcements for that. We're going to skip December, and then we're starting back up into January. So we'll have speakers then, and we need more speakers. So if you have a topic you want to talk about or somebody you want to recommend to us, we are definitely willing and able to put them on CDI. And so very nice to see all of you. So we're going to sign up. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Catherine.
I'm Nina.